Learn English with a teacher. English lesson for intermediate students. The job interview story. Please subscribe to my channel English Clear. For exercises and vocabulary words, go to my website englishclearclasses.blogspot.com. Something's missing, said Mike to himself, going through his resume for the 20th time. He knew the rules. The resume had to be 1 to 2 pages. He tried to keep it to 1 page. However, he felt that the resume was too plain. It didn't have the pizzazz. Why would an employer pick me, he thought. But I already sent it out to 50 companies. Well, if I don't get any callbacks, I will redo it again, he resigned himself. Each time Mike edited his resume, he wasn't completely satisfied. He must have redone it 15 times in the past month. The phone suddenly rang. Yes, he said, as the number was unknown to him. Mike Parson? Asked the serious voice on the other end of the line. Yes, that's me, he answered, trying not to get his hopes up. I'm calling from Streamers Inc. We received your resume and would like to schedule an interview with you if you're still available. Yes, I'm still available, he said quickly, nearly dropping his phone in utter shock. Beautiful. How about Friday at 2 p.m., said the voice on the other end. Friday 2 p.m. works for me, he answered, getting excited. Great. Then please come to our headquarters at 3067 Ocean Drive. Once you get there, go up to the second floor, room 302, and ask for Mr. Trent. He will be conducting the interview. Don't forget to bring a copy of your resume and a list of references. Thank you very much, responded Mike, very excited. His mind went into overdrive. I have to get all my references together, he thought. I have to call Melinda, Lucy, and Mark to make sure they know that they will be called soon. He hung up the phone. In his excitement, he grabbed his cat, Fluffy, who was sleeping peacefully on his favorite chair, and started dancing around the room. Fluffy sensed that something terrific happened to Mike, but he was hoping that Mike would soon put him back on the chair to allow him to finish his dream. On Friday at 1:45 p.m., Mike Parson was standing in front of the Streamers Inc. headquarters. He came a little bit early, but not too early. He knew that coming 15 minutes early was an unspoken rule. Come too early, and the interviewer might get annoyed. Come too late, and the interviewer might not even grant you the interview. Finally, he entered the building and quickly went up 2 flights of stairs. He found the room 302 easily enough. As he entered the office, he was struck by the gigantic size of the space. He gave his name to the receptionist at the front desk. She motioned for him to sit down and wait for his interviewer to come get him. He was happy to finally sit down and relax for a few minutes. As he looked around, he tried to observe the people walking in and out of the office. To Mike, it seemed that everyone was in a pretty congenial mood. He didn't notice anyone who seemed overly anxious or unhappy. It was important to Mike to end up in a place where people loved working. High turnover rate was always a bad indication. He learned from his own experience. The receptionist asked him if he wanted a cup of coffee. Mike was happy to accept. "How do you take it?" she asked. "2 sugars and cream, please," he answered. The receptionist quickly brought out a small cup of coffee. 5 minutes later, a confident and imposing man opened the door and announced that he was Mr. Trent and that he will be interviewing Mike. Mr. Trent towered over Mike. They shook hands. Mike tried to make his handshake strong, but not too strong. Mr. Trent noticed that by commenting, "Nice handshake, follow me." Unfortunately, as Mike turned around to grab his briefcase, the cup of coffee that he was still holding in his hand turned over and spilled right onto his new suit. Mr. Trent didn't seem to notice the disaster that was unraveling behind him as he led Mike rapidly in the direction of his office. Once there, Mike was motioned to sit down. Mike sat down feeling completely flustered, but quickly pulled himself together. Mr. Trent, still oblivious to Mike's mishap, whipped out Mike's resume. He didn't seem to notice the big coffee stain that was proudly covering half of Mike's shirt. Mike tried to cover up the stain by pulling the jacket tighter over his shirt, but realized that he was drawing more attention to the stain. "So, you're applying for a management position in our company?" Mr. Trent started the interview. "That's right," answered Mike decisively. He put his hands on his lap and tried not to fidget with his hands. Mr. Trent looked straight at Mike. "This job is very difficult." Mike made direct eye contact. "Sir, I'm ready for the responsibility." "Okay, then tell me about your background." "Well, I graduated from Carter University. I got my bachelor's there. For my MBA, I went to Silicon College." "How'd you like Silicon College?" asked Mr. Trent. "We had really good professors, and overall I really enjoyed that experience," said Mike. "Okay, what work experience do you have?" "I worked at Titanium for over 10 years, answered Mike. "Why'd you leave?" "I was let go due to budget constraints," said Mike. "Was the company not doing well financially?" asked Mr. Trent, surprised. "My sector was being restructured, and at that time they were downsizing." "I see," said Mr. Trent, turning Mike's resume around like a pancake. "Did you accomplish anything over there?" he asked thoughtfully. "Well, I reorganized 2 departments and saved the company over $3 million in expenses." "Okay, what is your strongest point?" asked Mr. Trent. Mike thought for a second. "I would have to say that I'm resourceful, reliable, and innovative." "In what way are you innovative?" "Well, for example, at my previous job, the company was very inefficient in a lot of different ways. I researched various software technologies to improve operations. I brought in at least 5 different software programs that company uses to this day." "Okay, sounds good. How about your weakest point?" Mike didn't blink. He was ready for that question. "I get so involved in the company that I take it home with me. It's hard for me to leave work behind and not to take it home with me," he explained. "Yeah, that's like that for everyone," agreed Mr. Trent. "Okay, Mike, so why do you want to work for us? What is it about our company that interested you?" Mike was ready for that question as well. "I've heard a lot about your company, and your company has the work culture that I like. Your company cares about its employees and cares about advancing people within the company." "That is true," said Mr. Trent. "Do you have any questions for me?" Mike was ready for that question too. "What is the work schedule?" It's 9 to 5 on the weekdays, and every Friday is a casual Friday. On Fridays, we like to eat pizza, wear casual clothing, and go home at 3 p.m. Does that sound good to you? Mike nodded in agreement. I like that schedule very much. It sounds like employees here have a healthy work-life balance, he noted happily. Did you bring a list of references with you? Asked Mr. Trent. Yes, here it is. Mike handed a list of his references to him. The list included the names, job titles, and phone numbers of the people that could give him a favorable reference. Okay, we have some more interviews to conduct, but we will be contacting you within a couple of weeks. Thank you for coming here, said Mr. Trent, getting up and stretching out his hand for the final handshake. Mike shook his hand and quickly left Mr. Trent's office. A great sense of relief washed over him. Now I just have to wait, he thought to himself. I really want that job. How do I wait for 2 weeks for the answer? That's the hardest part of the process. I wonder if he saw my stain. All those thoughts rushed through his head as he himself rushed home to his cat Fluffy. For exercises and vocabulary, go to my website englishclearclasses.blogspot.com and please subscribe to my channel English Clear. See you next time.